Hey everybody, Jeff aka GCurse here. It is currently 9:50 a.m. on the 22nd of February 2025. I thought I would do a react, and today I am doing a react to a fellow, I guess you could call him fellow Transformers collector, TJOmega. He recently released a video about his the top 10 worst Transformer Legacy toys. Now, this guy, he seems like, I think he owns a business or something. I don't know the guy personally. I've only seen some of his videos. But when it comes to like top 10 lists, I'm always kind of intrigued with top 10 lists, basically because of the fact that even though they want to try and make it sound like, oh, their top 10 list, it's official and everything, ultimately, a top 10 list is simply your opinion, yeah. So I like to see what people have to say, and then I like to compare like what they say with what I have when it comes to like Transformers, for example. But yeah, so I already saw this video, so I don't want people to think that this is like a blind react. It's not. I kind of split up the video amongst the different entries. So when you see a pause in the recording, it's because I'm loading up the next video. But yeah, so I cannot wait to see well, I can't wait to give you my thoughts about what figures he that he says are the what was it, the worst, the worst figures of the Legacy line. Because I'll be honest, with the exception of a very select few, I think that honestly Legacy really hit it out of the park for Transformers. Ever since the War for Cybertron trilogy, they started with that trilogy, and then we had Legacy. Hasbro's really been hitting it out of the park. But we're gonna see, I'm gonna give you my thoughts and everything. So let's get to that right about now. Okay, so I'm gonna start off with the introduction that TJOmega did. So we're gonna start with that. So let's pull this up. So 3, 2, 1.
Stuff. This is a harkening back to my plastic addict roots, where I will go on about how much I dislike certain figures. Now, I want to point out, I do think Legacy in and of itself is a really good toy line. I do think we got a lot of really good toys. In fact, I would say that at one level or another, none of these toys on this list are bad. Like especially if we're thinking like what it takes to qualify for Plastic Addict, no, I don't think any of them are bad. But
And I will agree with what he says right here for the majority of the line. It seems that some of the figures that I have issues with, oddly, are the exclusive figures. Like when I did my review of not Omega Prime, Nova Prime. Sorry, Nova Prime. Like, he has a severely weak leg where his leg falls off. To this day, I will never be able to pose that figure for images without its leg falling off. And then there's like the issue with Orion Pax in the 2-pack with Alpha Trion. That Orion Pax is fucking horrendous because it's a repaint of Studio Series 86 cut. There is some severe degradation there with the joints and everything. You can nudge that figure the wrong way, and his arms and legs will fall off. It was to the point I had to use fingernail polish to add enough friction to keep the pieces together without them just falling off. But yeah, it seems like, oddly enough, for me at least, the figures that had the worst problems are the figures that were part of exclusive sets that were like online, like through Amazon or Walmart.
it's just it's by process of elimination. 10 of them have to be the worst, right? I genuinely feel you have to acknowledge the bad so you can appreciate the good. That was the whole point of Plastic Addict to begin with, to make fun of people hyper criticizing everything. So instead, today we're going to look at the toys that.
Now, I'm going to be honest, I don't know anything about this Plastic Addict, so I can't really tell you anything about that.
And I want to point out, they are not great for a lot of different reasons. You know, there are toys on here that are good, but just one thing is done so badly, we have to talk about it. So, with that being said, we're going to look at the entire trilogy. Now that every toy has passed and been released, let us count down the 10 worst toys of Transformers Legacy.
Okay, so that was basically the introduction. I want to give you guys the introduction. That way you can at least get the idea of what he's going to be talking about, and you just don't get my thoughts only. I wanted to kind of offer both sides, basically. So when I return, it will be with number. Okay, 10. So here we are with number 10. So let's start it up.
When I concepted this list, I knew that one of the not Transformer Prime toys would end up on this list. It was just
not Transformer Prime toys. Is he saying that because there are Transformer Prime, to those who do not collect Transformers, basically you have a product line, say Legacy. And then inside Legacy you have different universes. So like say there's G1 universe, there's Prime universe, there's G2 universe, there's Beast Wars universe. There's different universes. So when he says, hold on, let me go back here. When he says
of the not Transformer Prime toys would
not Transformer Prime toys. To me, it sounds like he's kind of insulting what the consumers got. Yeah, like that's the way at least I'm hearing it.
End up on this list. It was just a matter of which one. And to be honest with you, it was RC that I never really liked. I mean, Bulkhead doesn't really represent his character very well. He's mostly just boring as a figure. You know, there's not a lot going.
Okay, yeah, I have the figure right here. Here's RC. Oh, you can't really see. Well, there you go. There's RC. I'll be honest, I don't see a problem with her. The main issue that a lot of people has is that, and I think he mentions, if I remember correctly, that they G1-fied her, you know, like. But here's my stance. I never had any of the Transformer Prime figures. So, because of that they released Transformers Prime during the time that I was kind of I was no longer collecting Transformers at that time. I used to collect Transformers, you know, in G1. I collected some in Beast Wars. I took a long hiatus from like 2000 all the way to like 2018, almost 20 years. I started collecting it was like just between Titan's Return and Power of the Primes. And then ever since then, I mean, I've just been collecting every fucking year. I have this, you know, I have RC right here, as you can see. Here, let me see. I'm going to try something. Let me see here. Can I do this? There. Let's see. How does this look on camera, though? Should be okay, I guess. I have RC right here. And she looks fine to me. You know, she looks fine. And I can't have this because of the goddamn video. Video will be. Let's see here. Maybe I can do this. Hold on, guys. I'm doing a little bit of a. Boom. Okay, we'll do something like this, I guess. But yeah. So basically, I think people buy a figure from a previous toy line. So say Transformers Prime before it became Legacy and everything. And that's what they remember. Well, to somebody who never bought RC before, this figure, with the exception of the loose left leg, this figure is fine to me. I don't see anything really wrong with this figure. Overall, it's competent. I think it's just that people are used to the way possibly that a figure was originally produced or released or whatever you want to call it. And that's how they prefer it. And when they get the same character but it's done differently, they can't really accept that. But let's continue continue to hear what he has to say.
Going on in him transformation wise. And then Knockout is at least a little bit better. Like, he actually seems to fit the mold decently. It's still not him. It's certainly not Knockout, but
I have the figure. It's actually on the shelf. You can't really see. Oh, it's my camera's I got it reversed. But over here or back there, I have a shelf and I have Knockout on it. I don't see, you know, I just see it sometimes. I think of, you know, stuff like this and people are just kind of complaining to complain, basically. They don't like it because something was done in a way that they don't like, therefore the figure is inferior. And I like to view it as like movie remakes, a remake of a movie. The remake is always going to have a different take on it because it's a different director. They're going to add their own spin to it. That's what they do with these kind of figures when they release an updated version. I never expect anything to be constantly as good as the original, because if you have something that's as constantly good as the original, you just have a clone, basically. You just have a clone. There's nothing new there. And I like to see that there is a little bit of advancement, basically.
I've seen worse. It could have been way worse than it was. But the RC just never clicked for me. And I've owned this mold multiple times, and it just never works. I'm not a big fan of how loose some of the parts are. In particular, the front end of the motorcycle never stays put.
Now, I don't transform my figures at all, so that's never been a problem for me.
Intuitive as I would like, and the overall representation is not great. I don't even get her body shape.
I don't see a problem with it, to be honest. But then again, like I said, this is the first time I've ever owned this character. I have like the Generation 1 RC, but I don't have the Prime RC. This is the first time I had Prime RC. So to me, this figure, it's fine. I don't see what the issue is, but like I said, I think people carry over their bias when it comes to buying a product, from a previous line. I think people have biases, and I think that's what it is this guy just has a little bit of a bias for an older product.
Out of this toy, it just seems like another character. It feels like this mold was designed as another character and then forcibly repainted in RC the way they would do during the Unicron trilogy, and it just doesn't work here. And by some of the other retools that we have seen of this figure, you can tell they had other characters in mind when they made it. RC just,
Well, they always have other characters in mind. That's how they make money. They always do repaints and slight remolds. That's nothing new there, dude.
over now, and it just never works for me. So maybe a personal thing, but I think in general, those Prime toys and Generations, the G1ified Prime toys, they needed more time.
Okay, so that was basically that. Basically, number 10 was RC, and I think he's just not a fan of how, they updated her, basically. And basically that is ultimately that's something he's going to have to deal with. But for me, with the exception of the slightly loose leg, the character overall is fine. I like the way she looks. I don't see any real issues. I don't see any real QC issues like I have with some other figures I own. But to each their own. So up next, it will be number 9. Okay, so we are here with number 9 to fill out the black that there was, because I had to do a quick edit. As I was recording, I added a little video in the background, and I added my little symbol that you can see. I just wanted to fill out the black, So, but anyway, so let's continue with number 9.
Here's one you probably saw lingering at your local Target for months on end because, frankly, in package, in the store, this looked too ugly to buy. We're taking a look at Dinobot from Buzzworthy Bumblebee.
This is a figure I actually do not own. I own the War for Cybertron Kingdom Dinobot, which came out before this figure did. I actually like that figure. And I'll be honest, I'm very curious about this figure. I've actually seen this figure on Amazon. Here, let me see here if they still have it, because I'm really I'm on the fence. I want to buy it, but I just haven't had the time to really wait to I keep hoping one of these days that it'll like be marked down to real cheap, because from what sounds like from TJOmega, I do kind of agree regarding how it did shelf warm over at Target. It was a real big shelf warmer. But let's see here. Let's see here. Hold on. Shift. Sorry. There we go. Okay, so I am curious. Do they have Buzzworthy Bumblebee Dinobot? I'm curious if they actually have it. Oh, they do. It's $34. Oh God. Ugh. I'm just so fucking curious about it, though. I'm so fucking curious. 34 bucks. It is about the same price. You would, well, it's slightly a little bit more if I remember correctly. I can't recall exactly what Voyagers go for nowadays, but I'm gonna add it to the cart because I'm really on the fence about buying another Transformer. Okay, so they do have it still at Amazon, so there we go. Okay, let's continue on to hear what he has to say.
This toy itself is good. I think, aside from weird choices like the downturn on the wrists in Beast Mode, I think this is a very, very good Dinobot toy. And then there's that color scheme. Yes, it's the original color scheme from the first Beast Wars toy, but not really. I've been staring at this plucked chicken of a toy and wondering what the difference is, and I think I finally figured it out. I think it's the fact that the dark brown that is painted on is so much more invasive on the original toy. It's larger, it goes down the body more. Here they were trying to skimp on the toy budget a little bit, so the overall toy suffers. It's just way too much of that pink flesh exposed. And also, it doesn't even really strike me as the same type, like the same color. Like, I have the original Dinobot toy. The color is a little bit more muted than this. Like, it's not this, like, lively, fleshy tone.
I know that I'm going to be called a pervert for saying this, but I'm looking at the figure and the coloring and the texture and everything. And you can imagine what I'm thinking. I'm not going to say it. But you can imagine what I'm thinking, though.
It's just, it's unsettling. Like, it's literally like an unsettling toy to look at, especially with like all the sculpted natural details and ridges in the skin. Yeah, good toy, but this is just an example of just how a really, really bad paint job, a really bad color scheme, can absolutely sink a good figure. We talked about that a few times on Plastic Addict, and I tried not to harp on toys just because the color scheme is bad, but in this case, it's downright unpleasant.
Okay, so this is actually, I think that's one of the few figures in the entire Legacy toy line, along with the spin-offs or the exclusives like Buzzworthy Bumblebee. I think this is one of the few figures I did not buy. And I'm still on the goddamn I'm still kind of on the border if I want to buy this figure or not. But I can understand where he was going with this. It does have that odd coloring to it. But I like my Transformers that look a little bit odd also. I got Kingdom Dinobot, and then I think it came out as part it was recolored with a different head as Grimlock. Or yeah, I think it was called Grimlock. But yeah, I have that figure. It's part of a 2-pack if I remember correctly. But yeah, I just like my figures that have a weird color sometimes. And this guy looks fucking weird. He looks fucking weird. And I'm so close to wanting to buy it or not. Yeah. But anyway. So I can understand why he feels like that. Yeah. When I first saw this video and then I watched it, I did not realize that Dinobot actually had a whole different color scheme back in Beast Wars. I thought he was just the color that like what I got, yeah. Because back during Beast Wars, I actually did not have Dinobot when I was collecting Beast Wars figures back in the late 90s, early 2000s. I had Depth Charge Rampage, Transmetal Tube Megatron, Optimus Prime, and Tigerhawk. I had like the biggest Transformers, the larger figures. I didn't have the smaller figures, but yeah. So that was number 9. Up next is number 8. We are here with number 8, And this is actually a figure that I'm not going to say it is exactly because I'm going to play the video pretty quickly. But this is actually one I'm kind of like, really? That he did not like. So let's continue on.
I admit this one might be on the list because I'm just exhausted of this mold at this point. This is the Gladiator Megatron from the recent San Diego Comic-Con 2-pack with the Orion pack / Stormbringer Optimus Prime style design.
Okay, so when I first saw this, before he even got to this point where he showed the figure, he said one of the most overused molds, the first thing I thought was Siege Megatron. Siege Megatron. I'm thinking like Siege Megatron. And he did not disappoint. He did not disappoint. However, I'm shocked he went with this figure. I actually thought he would have gone with a minor Megatron. Let's see here. Now, to those who do not know, let's see here. Let me pull it up. Minor Megatron, the character was based on a comic book, but they actually released, a figure last year, if I remember correctly. Let's see here. I'm trying to pull it up right now. Toy lines. See, okay, here we go. Okay, and then do this. Okay, and then let's see here. Legacy Evolution. I think it's part of Evolution, if I remember correctly. Toxtron Leader, Toxtron. Ascension, Javelin, Nova Prime, Megatron. Minor Megatron. Here we go. I thought he would have gone with this figure here. I thought he would have gone with Minor Megatron because basically I have this figure and oh my god, the knees on this figure are so bad. I literally have the figure propped up against the wall so it wouldn't fall over. That's how weak the knees are. Hold on. I actually gotta get my figure, so hold on, I'll be right back. Oh, come on, pause. Okay, so here we have Gladiator Megatron. And like I said, I thought he would have gone with Minor Megatron because this guy, even though this guy has softer knees, it isn't as bad as it is on my copy of the Minor Megatron. The fact that they gave this guy extra accessories, to me, that kind of makes up for the fact that it was just basically another repaint of Minor Megatron. But, let's hear what he has to say, though, why he picked this figure. Wait, hold on, Ash. Is it shift? There he goes.
How many times? Like, this mold has been used like 10 times over, and that's not even an exaggeration. And it's always the same. We've got one G2 green one, and then all gray. Just all gray Megatrons in different iterations of Megatron.
I think they do the all gray because he just said it right there. It's different iterations. It isn't like it's all gray Megatron of G1, for example, Generation 1. It is like, Gladiator Megatron or Minor Megatron, even though Minor Megatron's more black than anything. Or the other umpteen gray Megatrons. But I think they are each different iterations. So it isn't like you're getting just the same universal Megatron like G1, And like I said, I'm kind of shocked that he went with this guy because you get the two accessories here that you see on the back, and then you get the other two that he's holding. I'm actually shocked that he went with this. Out of all the Megatrons that were released in Legacy, he chose one of the better figures. I would have to say, at least this guy can actually stand up. The weight from his waist up isn't so heavy it causes his legs to buckle like it does Minor Megatron. So I think they even did some sort of possible internal retooling with the figure's knees because, oh my god, this guy, compare him to Minor Megatron just based on the fact that he can stand up without falling over. It's like night and day, to be honest. But ultimately, these top 10 lists are ultimately it's their choices, their opinion.
Megatron. And it's just so exhausting at this point. And this is the minor Megatron repainted into just a very short-lived appearance in the comic books. And I can understand why they went with a 2-pack, but this just highlights just how long they've been counting on this Megatron mold, and it's just time for it to go. There's so many weaknesses that this toy has, like, the turret section is very poorly constructed, since it's just the arms there. I've never liked how the legs on this toy work, especially the large snap it takes to get the ankles bent. It's just not, it's not a great toy. Like, in no iteration of this toy was really that good, and yet they counted on it for like 6 years. It's ridiculous. Yeah, it's more the point. Like, it makes the list mostly because why would you do it again? Like, just do that Optimus Prime, that Orion Pax toy, because that's a really, really good toy, and just solo release it. It didn't need to have yet another iteration of that Megatron.
But the thing is, they were trying, I don't know anything about the comic book, so I can't really say anything about it. But you would think that if you're going to have a comic book, a character from a specific comic book, you would most likely want the opposite character, that because they were probably interacting a lot with each other. I don't know if they were, but if in the comic book, Optimus Prime, Orion Pax, whatever you want to call him, interacted with Megatron, and then you released Optimus Prime, and it looks like he was possibly as a gladiator also. I don't know the backstory, so don't yell at me. But if you have Optimus Prime as in that specific iteration, you would probably want the foil to that character. And that's why they re-released this goddamn Megatron. I will admit that it is getting tiring having the same mold over and over and over. The three overused molds that I have Megatron, I have Starscream, and I have Sideswipe. A lot of my collection is made up of those goddamn repaints, basically. Yeah, but I can understand where he's coming from. But like I said, I'm actually shocked that he went with this figure and not minor Megatron that I showed just a few seconds ago.
I honestly think it brings the value of the 2-pack down, because the Prime is so good, and then here's another gray Megatron for your pile. Yeah, this is just overdone. The toy is just overdone. I've seen it too many times. Please, Hasbro, never again.
Okay, so that was what was this? Hold on, let me check here. Number 8. So I'm going to take a quick break. I got some laundry that is about to be done. And when I return, it will be with number 7. So stay tuned and I'll be right back. Okay, up next we have number 7. And this one, once again, I think this one is more clouded by biasness. But, personal bias, I guess that's how you would say it. But let's hear the video. Okay. Crap, I forgot to switch out the audio for my headphones. Hold on. Okay.
I will never not harp on this repaint as being one of the most lazy that Hasbro has ever produced, and the complete lack of care and research into its origins. Velocitron Scourge, I'm going to keep harping on. On the whole, yes, it looks fine as a Nemesis Prime.
Okay, see, this is one of the things I disagree with. Okay, he's a little bit dusty, I apologize. Here I have Scourge from the Velocitron Speedia collection. I actually think this figure is fucking awesome. I think he's awesome. Nowhere do I look at this guy and think that he is Nemesis Prime, though. To me, I never, like I said, I never had, a lot of these figures before I got back into collecting. In fact, when I was going to college, I would actually spend my free time in the computer lab, surfing the net. And I don't know what it was, but I was surfing, looking about Transformers. And they had what I came across. Let's see here if I can find it. Let's see if I can find it. Let's see here. Hold on, let's switch over to this. There we go. Wiki Scourge. Toys. Oh, they probably won't have. Yeah, it's let's see here. Well, Scourge. Oh, okay here. No, not this one. God no. Robots and yeah, I think this is it. It could be this one. Okay, now let's look for the toys because I remember I was sitting. Is it? Could it be this one? I'm guessing it could be this one. It's been a while since. Yeah, I remember the Chrome. I would, like I said, I would sit in the computer lab in between my classes. There would be times I'd have like 2 or 3 hours between classes. So I would sit in the computer lab, I'd work on my assignments, and then when I have some free time, I'd look online at stuff. And I saw this figure. I saw Robot or RID Scourge. And I thought this figure looked fucking awesome. And little did I know that this was back in 2014 when I was first starting to go to college. At that time, I literally had nothing. I was, not a penny to my name, basically. I saw this figure and I thought to myself, this is kind of like what spurred me to get back into collecting Transformers. Once I graduated from college, I got myself a nice paying job and, over applying myself and everything. After a few years, I got the collection that I now have. I have a collection that I could have only dreamt of. However, I never had a chance to get this figure because when I first got out of college, this figure was going for a nice penny. It wasn't cheap, so I never had this figure. Now let's switch back over to this. There we go. Till I got, and then when it was announced that they had this figure, of course I jumped for it. Of course I jumped for it. And I'll be honest, I don't see Nemesis Prime here, and I should know because I actually own the spoiler pack. I think this was the first spoiler pack from it was from the War for Cybertron. It was like a Walmart exclusive, if I remember correctly. This is Nemesis Prime. This is Scourge, but I can see the difference between them. To me, this guy doesn't remind me of Nemesis Prime. This guy does, but this guy, I look at him and I see Scourge. But yeah, I was excited to finally get this guy, and once again, I'm shocked that he went with this guy. I thought he would have gone with Laser G2 Optimus Prime, which came out in Legacy, if I remember correctly, because at least with my figure had a QC issue where the arm would constantly fall off at the bicep. This guy doesn't have that issue, but like I said, it could have been an issue that was just relegated to my figure.
But it's not supposed to be a Nemesis Prime. It's Scourge on the box. It's the G2 Prime design. It's supposed to be RID Scourge. And then they completely screwed it up. And by the designer's own admission, he just kind of did the normal Nemesis Prime thing to the toy. He didn't even go and look at the origin. He didn't even go look at the source material to see how accurate he was being. Like, okay, congratulations, you got upside down G2 Autobot logos on him for the Destrons from Car Robots. Good work. Where's the gray chest? Where's the sticker detailing?
Okay, see, this is where I want to kind of mention like the bias. It kind of reminds me of the same thing that I mentioned when he was critiquing RC in entry number 10. Every time somebody gets, when a new, or I'm not sure what the correct term is, but whenever a figure, a person is assigned a figure to develop and everything over at Hasbro, I'm pretty sure they want to add their own touches. They want to add their own touches to make it something unique to them, you know. And we got this guy. We got this guy. Am I upset at all? Fuck no, man. I like this figure. This figure actually looks pretty nice. I don't see Nemesis Prime at all. I see Scourge. I look at this figure. Hold on, and I see this. Yeah, you don't have exactly the same coloring, but I look at this guy, and to me, it looks like a suitable, or it looks like a suitable replacement for this guy, you know. But, you know, like I said, I think honestly TJOmega is just kind of letting his memories kind of cloud some of these figures. And like I said, ultimately it kind of goes back to what I said at the beginning. These a top 10 list is basically their opinions, you know. And I'm giving you my opinion. I just think that this is actually a good figure. I don't think it deserves to be on the list, but that's just my opinion also. I was just glad that when I was online after work, when they first announced these figures, I saw Scourge, and I'm like, oh shit, fuck yeah, Scourge, you know? Granted, the trailer doesn't look like the same trailer from RID. You know, it's not chrome like it is in the picture, but it's still a suitable substitute for me. You know, I'm happy with what I got here. Am I going to go out and chase down RID Scourge? No, because I have this guy, and this guy does a fucking good job.
Or at least a tampograph imitating it in the chest windows and across the shoulders. Where are the proper colors? Why was this so hard? Like, why? Like, I'm, like, just absolutely shocked. Like, why? Why can you, like, try to do a brand new version of a super popular character from back in the day and then screw the color scheme up so badly? All you had to do was look at one photo, one screenshot from the show, and just copy it. That's it. This was not supposed to be difficult. Obviously, there's hope that the mold is redone correctly. I think Hasbro is aware. I think they've even mentioned at times that, like, yeah, we could always go back and do that again, as far as, like, getting this done properly. But right now, it does not look like it. There's so many things coming down the pipe. I really don't think this one's anywhere close to getting fixed.
And it's kind of like what I said originally back in art when in the RC entry. I never had this figure, so to me, this figure is this figure is awesome because at the end of the day, I never had anything before this guy. I didn't have any of the other versions of Scourge, so this is actually fine to me. I like this figure.
It's one of those that's frustrating because it looks good, but it doesn't look correct. And we have been waiting a long time for a correct RID Scourge to hit again. We missed a huge opportunity here. It makes the list this high because, yeah, this should have been a shoe-in. This is a massive miss.
Okay, so basically, you know, and ultimately, even though I am critiquing what he's saying, he is in the right. It's his opinion. He is in the right to say how he feels. It is his opinion. But I'm going to go out on record and give my opinion and say that I don't see anything really wrong with this guy. A lack of stickers, so what? You know, like, it's stickers. I've never been a sticker kind of person. As long as what they're trying to convey, you know, you can see what it is that they're trying to convey. Here's Scourge. As long as you look at the figure and you can see Scourge, yeah, it's Scourge. You know, I would have a problem if they released this guy, this figure they had, or they released a figure they said it was Scourge, RID Scourge for you know, just, and then they released a figure with that name, but it turned out to be Huffer, or a mold of Huffer painted in these colors. I would be more upset at that. I'd be like, no, that's Huffer having a bad day, it looks like. That's not Scourge. This is Scourge, you know, so But like I said, ultimately we are allowed to have our own thoughts. He has his or opinions. He has his, and I have mine. Okay, you all ready for number 6? Because here we go.
When you're doing a 6-part combiner, there's always going to be one character in the mix that has to suffer for all the others to actually work. And when it's core class size, you're gonna make that toy suffer a lot. Sludge as part of the Dinobots is fine. If you put them all in a row, he looks fine. If you put them all in beast mode, he looks fine. Is when you take the toy as an
Okay, I will go on record and say I do not buy core class figures. The only exception I will buy a core class figure is if I feel that that character will never get uh, a deluxe class upscale or upgrade or whatever you want to call it. Best case and example, Bomb Burst and Iguanas from Legacy. I learned that they were never going to be upscaled into a proper deluxe class, even though for some goddamn reason they released Skullgrin as a deluxe class, but both Bombers and Iguanas got the core class treatment. So because of that, I bought those two. I also bought Rat Trap from Kingdom because for some reason that they wanted to keep that guy as a core class, even though I recently bought the Thrilling 30, and I think that's like a deluxe class. It's a lot larger. There are times I will buy a core class if, like I said, if and only if I do not feel that they will ever release that figure as a deluxe or larger class. So I never bought any of the Dinobots, and I'll be honest, I do not like the idea of the Dinobots combining. I've just never been a fan of that. To me, the Dinobots were always powerful when they were not a combiner. They were built, in my opinion, to be kind of like tanks, with the exception of Swoop. You look at, let's say, like Sludge here, for example. You look at Sludge in his alternate mode, and he literally looks like he is a tank. He could literally take a walloping if need be.
individual that things really start to fall apart for the figure. So, for starters, extremely low articulation, even for a core class figure. You have those huge pieces of Dino Mode leg hanging off because those have to be the thigh of the combiner. You have the floating leg thing. I hate how the legs on this toy look with that floating thigh inside, those huge gaps that just doesn't seem like the legs are even connected to each other. Even the beast mode has its flaws that it really shouldn't. Are you aware that the head on this is missculpted? Yeah, so like the two halves, like the two divisions of the head, they're sculpted differently on both sides. There's a noticeable seam. It's really frustrating. Like again, it's almost like they like fixed the tooling on one half and then forgot to fix the tooling on another. You know, it seems like literally every part of this toy ended up being an afterthought, all for the sake of making the pelvis of Volcanicus. And you know what? Fine. I know that you're going to make a toy suffer when it's the pelvis piece of a combiner. We saw that in Combiner Wars Devastator.
Okay, I'm just gonna go on record and say if the core class of these figures failed, and they did fail because Hasbro is apparently no longer going to be producing them. It isn't the consumer's fault. It's because of Hasbro. Hasbro did not know how to properly release a core class figure. And apparently, by the sounds of it, Sludge had issues with his head being like you could see that there's a seam that runs out of the head. You know, me that wouldn't really be a problem because I don't transform my figures. They stay in their primary mode all the time. But I can understand why people would be upset. And the fact that they're trying to make a combiner out of a goddamn core class is like, nah. To me, core class, not core class, combiner figures should encompass only like deluxe, Voyager and Leader or whatever. You know, they should the core class should never touch combiner class. You know, combiner status basically.
That's a really ugly piece. We see it in modern 6-piece combiners where both Devastator and Lyokaiser avoid the entire topic altogether by having an individual pelvis that's not transformable. Here, Sludge had to suffer, and again, in the group, he's fine, he's sacrificing for the team. If you bought this toy on his own, if you were a Sludge fan who just really wanted a pocket-sized Sludge to sit on your desk and keep you company across the day, you deserved better.
Okay, so I can't really give, I can't really give the guy any problems here. He makes a good point, if the figure has all these flaws, like with the head, with the legs, with the pelvis and all that, it sounds like that they are, it sounds like that maybe it should be a good thing that core class is discontinued. But then again, like I said, with the exception of figures that I never thought that would make it to deluxe class or larger, I would never buy core class figures. Okay, we are here with number 5, and this one actually kind of took me for a little bit of a surprise. Excuse me, because he's going to be talking about a repaint when the repaint, in my opinion, is so much better than the original.
Remember when I talked about how repaints worked in the Unicron trilogy era where things were homaging past characters? They kind of worked, but some of them ended up being really, really clever, and it actually worked really, really well. And then others ended up being just, why did you think this would work? Buzzworthy Toe Line is one of those, why did you think this would work? So, for starters, I'm not a fan of this mold in general. This is one of those where I don't think, no matter which version of this mold I have ever messed with, I don't think that this toy ever stayed intact during transformation.
Now, I will give him that. Parts would fall off of Toe Line when I would transform him. I didn't transform him that much, but I have all 3 versions. I think, there's a 4th one that's still in the box behind me. I have 3 opened versions of this mold. I have Skyline, Toe Line, Toe Line. I have, the purple and gray. It's the Decepticon version. Oh, God. Oil Slick or Slick Oil or whatever the fuck its name is. And then I got the Junkion. The Junkion guy right here. So, I got the Junkion right here. I feel that this figure, although this was the second, I think this was the second release of this mold, I feel that this one is so much better. Why? One major reason. Once again, I swear, if there was one issue that Legacy toy line figures had, it was the goddamn QC. QC issues up the fucking ass when it comes to Legacy figures. For this guy had it, and it regarded the fucking elbow. As you can see, it's already kind of loose. It's kind of loose. It just does not want to. There's no friction. That is not the worst part here, ladies and gentlemen. I will go to simply try to turn his arm, and it literally falls off. It isn't even like it's meant to fall off. It is a fucking hinge. It is a hinge. It falls off. Like, you can't even turn the motherfucker without it coming off. And I'm afraid that if I keep doing this, it's not going to hold on anymore. So I'm not going to do it anymore. But yeah, it doesn't even offer any. There it goes. It doesn't offer that much friction to hold it unless you shake it. Yeah, but whereas this guy, you can take his arm and you can literally turn it. You can fucking turn it. You can turn it. No fucking problems, I can even do one finger twist and no problem. And, okay, oh, wow, it actually came off on this one. Okay, let's try again, though, just to make sure that I didn't overdo it, though. Yeah, it's just a little bit tight. I don't want to force it. But, yeah, it's a little bit tight, but at least I can still, I can move it a little bit. But the fact is like this guy, like I said, you can't even fucking turn his arm without it falling off. If TJ did not like this mold at all, why did he go with this one? Unless if it's, possibly because maybe it doesn't pay proper homage or whatever you want to pronounce it, proper respect to the character. I would have gone with this guy, but to each their own. To each their own. I actually like this guy, not just because of the arm, because that's a major part of it. I like the coloring. Yes, I understand that this guy's a Junkion, but for some reason, I think they released 3 Junkions. I have to go back into my collection and look. I think they released 3 Junkions in the Legacy collection. And to me, I'll be honest, Junkions should never be deluxe class. They Junkions, for some reason, I hear the name Junkion and I think Voyager class. Like what we got in Studio Series 86. We got Junk Heap, Junk Pile possibly, and Scrap Heap. Or whatever the fuck the 3 names are, But yeah, I like this guy so much more, But just me, it's just me. Let's continue on.
I don't think I've ever I have other remolds. Like I have like Axle Grease and Lockdown,
Axle
the
Grease,
car
that's
retool of this one.
What was Axle Grease? Axle Grease is the oil slick. Oh, it's Axle Grease.
And I couldn't keep them together then during transformation. It's frustrating. And it's not even parts that were supposed to separate. The elbows on this mold are terrible.
Thank you. Thank you. At least it's not just me. So it is a wider spread issue with this guy. Now, I'm going to try the other arm. Is the other arm as bad? No, it's not. I can actually turn. I take it back. I take it back. I take it back. Okay, can I get it back on? There it goes. Yeah, but as you heard TJOmega say, the elbows are horrendously bad on this mold.
And are prone to coming apart pretty easily. If you hear in the background, my dog does not like this mold either. And that goes along with just the overall paint job itself. Now, keep in mind, I mean, it's RID 2000,
Okay, I'm just kind of curious. Here, let's do some research. Normally, I don't really like I mentioned before. I really don't care about coloring as long as it can convey to you who that character is. Okay, so there you go. Hold on. Oh my god, where the hell did I go? There we go. Well, no, that's not it. Hold on. I'm trying to fix. Okay, there you go. There you go. Okay, then there you go. Let's scroll in or zoom in. Okay, so there's bomb bursts and iguanas that I mentioned earlier. Okay, let's see here. I can't recall. I think it was evolution. It was evolution. So let's go down to evolution. Target was a Target exclusive, or Buzz. Okay. Okay, here we go. So this is the figure. Now I want to compare this figure. Like, see how did it look? Okay. Do we have like a toe line? I'm looking at the figure and I'm trying to I'm looking at the figure and then I'm looking at oh, you can't really see it because of my symbol. I'm looking at this picture right here. It looks okay. It looks okay. This one, granted, it's the vehicle mode is different, and like I said, it's all about the creators or the developers wanting to put a different spin on it. But the coloring looks pretty decent to me. I don't really see a problem with the coloring, but like I said, as long as it can kind of convey what it is. Like I said, if you had Hasbro saying coming soon, robots in disguise, Scourge, and then they release a mold that looks like Huffer but with Scourge's colors, I'd be like, yeah, that's not Scourge, that's Huffer. Like it's just me, but yeah. But overall, I love this figure for all the flaws this figure has. I love this figure over this motherfucker, because even though apparently this arm does come off. Let's see here. You just gotta be kind of careful and hold it a little bit tighter, but it will turn, Whereas this one, you can literally do one finger to turn it, But at least the arms don't fall off as easily as they do with this guy.
It's RID 2001 toe line. It's going to have the garish green and light blue. There's no avoiding that. But it does feel very forced into this mold just because they wanted to do some kind of tow truck repaint. And rather than going with something that's like Machine Wars that would have suited the Mad Max aesthetic a lot better, they went with tow line, meaning we have bright orange roll bars on his windshields for some reason. And, it's what.
Are those actually roll bars? I never viewed these things them as roll bars. I just view them as more like protection, like a screen made of welded bars, that prevent somebody from reaching in and grabbing the driver, I never view them as roll bars because I hear roll bars and I think of like Demolition Derby where the car like turns over on its top or something. That's what I imagine roll bars for. But in this picture, it kind of reminds me more as like a protection for the people who are inside the vehicle mode, the driver per se,
Supposed to be like a normal, helpful tow truck Autobot is armed for the apocalypse. Like, it's
why not?
Frustrating. It's not a repaint that works. It's not a mold that suits the character, especially for the character's personality. It's way too sharp. It's way too aggressive. It just feels like they threw RID fans a bone because they just happened to have a tow truck lying around. Otherwise, yeah, this one just did not work for me in the least. Personal preference thing, yeah, but judging by how many I saw shelf warming at Target, I'm going to assume a lot of people felt the same way.
Okay, so basically, I understand where he's coming from, but I think out of all the molds, I thought he would have picked this guy because it sounds like he didn't like the mold at all. So, but to each their own. Okay, we are at number 4, and this one, I'll be honest, I figured that this figure just felt weird the way that it does because of the fact that it serves multiple purposes. So let's get on with this entry, shall we?
This one should not be this high up on the list, admittedly, but at this point I feel like a personal vendetta is being taken out on me. Why is every breakdown toy terrible? Why is this character doomed to have...
Okay, so here I have breakdown, and I'll be honest, I don't really have that much of an issue per se with this figure. All I can really say is I think that, because I will openly say that the figure feels odd in my hands. It feels weird. It feels like it's compressed. Like literally he's just being squeezed and this is what we got. But I think it feels like that because of the fact that, it has to have the primary mode. It has the alternate mode that you see in the image, on the screen here. And then it also serves as a piece of combiner. I think that's why it just has that weird feel to it. And as you can see here, like I said, they always stay in their primary mode. I've never even combined these figures, the Stunticons, into God, what did the Stunticons combine into? I can't recall the name right now. Menasor. But I can say it feels weird, but I think it's because of the fact that it is a combiner piece, actually.
Really bad toys every single time he's released. When he was the Cyber, when they did the Titans Return, no, the Combiner Wars. I'm getting myself backwards here. I'm so upset about this toy. When they did the Combiner Wars toy, he was the worst one in the entire line. Like nothing about him felt good. And when they went and did this one, half of the vehicle is hanging off of his back, and instead of letting it fold up into this nice little backpack that would have been out of the way, they gave it useless transformation steps.
I'll be honest, the way I kind of have it here, I kind of have it like this, what it kind of looks like right now. But this is how I have it in the back. I kind of have it like that, and I kind of like the way it looks like in the back with the panel, the pieces kind of open up like that. But that's just me. That's just me.
As if to try to make it spread out to avoid the kibble of his windshield. His windshield, which also could have absolutely been engineered to fold onto his back a lot better than it does, instead just hanging off as this constantly, like, flowing butt flap. The toy itself is just messy, and I think because it's using so much of its mass in the backpack, I feel like the rest of the toy just doesn't feel as good as other figures.
And if you're curious, I actually have the spoiler. It's right here. I just don't have it attached to the figure.
Even in his combiner group, drag strip I feel is a far better toy than this one. And I'll I don't know why. I don't know why this one. I don't know why Breakdown always ends up bad. Like right down to things like, we didn't want to split the spoiler in vehicle mode and leave it on the back of his legs, so we made this blade boomerang thing that he can't really use in any practical way. I don't know.
I will agree with that. I don't know why they did a spoiler the way that they did. What they should have done, if they wanted him to use it like as a blade or as a boomerang, they should have had the wrist be able where they should have engineered the wrist where you could rotate the hand. That would have made a lot of sense, but it doesn't. The hands are engineered where they basically just rotate into the arm for transformation. That's why I never really have the spoiler attached to the figure at all.
Everything about this toy annoys me. Everything about this toy annoys me. It just comes across really, really sloppy. It just comes across like they just had to just throw something together just to get the character out there. I feel like engineering wise, he's one of the more disappointing combiner characters in recent years. And the fact that he got retooled into Wild Rider, so he had to double up on the flaws on this mold, that hurts a lot too.
Okay, so like I said, I can understand why he's not happy with this figure. However, I think it's just because of the fact that he is a combiner that he feels a little bit more compressed, and everything. But that's just me also. Up next we have number 3, it looks like. So here's number 3. We are at the final 3, ladies and gentlemen. Let's see, what is number 3?
I recently sold off this figure on my eBay sales, which, yes, are still ongoing and probably will be for the next couple of weeks. Cheap plug. But messing with it again to cram it into a box reminded me, I do not have fun with this toy, and it's a shame because it's an expensive one.
Okay, I actually own this figure. I still have it in the box. I have some cabinets in the living room here, and on the top of the cabinets I have all the Titans that I own. And I actually own this guy. However, the problem is I bought all my Titans without the idea of like, okay, where am I going to display them? So I'm actually hoping to start a project this summer where I'm going to attach some shelving to the walls. I'm hoping to get all of my Titans out of their boxes and put them on the shelving. If not, then they'll just continue to remain in their boxes. Now, I'll be honest, I don't know why I bought this guy. I don't know why I bought him. Maybe it was just at the time I was getting back into collecting Transformers after my mom passed away. And I saw this guy and I thought maybe I wanted to have him. But the more and more I look at this guy, it's just like, oh God. It's just, why did I buy him? It's like it's like bringing a woman home you meet at the bar. Like when you're at a bar and you meet a woman, you're already kind of affected by the alcohol. And you have, alcohol eyes, I guess you could call it. I'm not sure exactly what the correct term is. And then you wake up the next morning and you realize what you did. This is kind of like that. It's like, oh my God, I bought this thing. Okay.
So, here's the thing. Cybertron Metroplex's entire design concept was tall. What can we do to make a Transformer as tall as possible at the leader class price point? And the sacrifice.
Tall at leader class price. Doesn't he, I think he meant to say Titan class because this guy's a Titan. He's not a leader.
To that is the fact that his transformation was largely made up of just normal articulation points across his body, and there's very little actual transformation going on. You know, you could argue the vehicle mode, especially in the original, just kind of looks like someone doing some weird yoga pose, you know, with a bucket wheel on the back of them. You know, that's the only thing that makes them look like some kind of vehicle. A bucket wheel, which, by the way, has never been able to reach the ground. You throw in a work mode because, well, we have to make it do something else. The original toy did that too, just kind of like a fake triple changer. It's really just stopping halfway in between transformation and sticking some weapons on, which makes him look even sillier than the original mode. No, when you put him into the Titan line, the whole concept of the character, make him tall for the budget, completely goes away because he's just as tall as any of the other Titans, if not a little bit shorter than some of them. So you don't get that vibe anymore. You don't get the whole point of the design. And then when you put it compared to some of the other ones that can turn into bases for Micromasters or even Legends class toys, or they have like a proper third mode that's cool. Like,
I'll be honest, I kind of like the whole idea. I'm not sure what that device is, the thing that he's holding. It looks like it's partially like a shovel and a saw. I like that saw bit because if you look at the toy, the box of the box of Metroplex, it looks like he is cutting into the earth, and I think you see Insecticons kind of trying to get out of the way of the blade. I kind of like that. That's actually a cool touch. Okay.
when you start putting it into perspective like that, like, it really doesn't feel like he has the play value to justify his price, and his transformation certainly does not feel like a Titan class price point. It just feels like it was there just to fill out the line. And it's unfortunate. Like, I love my Cybertron, but this is one of my least favorite figures and designs from the entire thing. And when you take away their whole reason for the design, he's not really all that special anymore.
Okay, and I can understand his point of view. Titan class figures are an investment, and you should get the most bang for your buck, basically. So I can understand why he feels like this regarding this figure. I cannot wait to finally get it out of the box if I ever do, and I'll give you my final thoughts when I do get it out of the box. Okay, up next we have a figure that I actually still have in the box, and you'll find out what that is right about now.
Here's one that might just be me, because I don't really hear a lot of people talking about it, but I never could enjoy this figure. This one just always put me off. Trashmaster seemed like a really good idea.
Okay, when they originally I remember when I was watching one of the Hasbro fan pulse things, whatever the fuck they're called. They didn't even have, when they were doing the space bridge reveals, you know, they didn't even have an image for Trashmaster. It literally was just like a text. It said Trashmaster. They could not even show like concept drawings or anything. They couldn't show anything. I saw that and I was livid. I'm like, really? You could not have the professionalism to even show like a black and white drawing, you know, like a blueprint, a concept, whatever you want to fucking call it. They couldn't. They didn't have anything, and I thought to myself, I'm wondering if it's gonna be a garbage truck, and that's what it actually turned out to be. And here I have Trashmaster. He's still in his fucking box. I haven't even opened this motherfucker up. I've had this guy for at least, I think I got it like 2 years ago. And I have not opened them up because even though I was excited when I got him, the thought of I think this is a combining Junkion, if I remember correctly. The fact that, you know, you have a Voyager class Junkion, and I think, like I said, I think it's also supposed to combine with the other Junkions. That should be enough for me to be excited. But for some reason, this guy left, I'm not sure what it is. I bought the figure, and I just never took him out of the box. And I'm not even a collector that likes to keep figures in the box. Once I get them, I like to take them out of the box. But for some reason, I just feel so like so neutral towards this guy. I'm the only reason I'm keeping him is because I'm a completionist. I wanted all the evolution characters minus the core class. But yeah, so let's hear what TJOmega has to say.
Let's introduce a Voyager into this whole combining Iser gimmick that we have with the deluxes, so you can have a bigger piece to play with. And on paper, that seems absolutely great. I would love to have more combination options, and I am aware there's some things you can do with it. But by and large, I feel that getting him to work in the ecosystem of the other deluxes is really difficult. He doesn't break down into enough parts, and his parts just don't have nearly as many uses as I would expect. You know, it all feels just incredibly limited by what they can do. And as an overall figure, he kind of suffers the same thing of Bulkhead, where it's just kind of a boring design. Like, he really doesn't have a whole lot of interesting transfer.
I wouldn't say that it's boring. I'm just not sure what it is. Like I said, I got the guy, and literally for like the last 2+ years, he's been sitting on the shelf behind me. Up there, I know you can't really see it, but there's a figure inside that photo box I have. That is Shattered Glass Megatron. For some reason, like I said, this guy has been sitting on the fucking shelf behind me for over 2 years. And normally, every time I get ready to do an unboxing and review, I will always go to my supply of Transformers on that shelf, or there's another shelf off camera, and I will open and review them. But for some reason, this guy, I don't understand. Like, I just have not. Hold on. Okay, there it goes. I didn't realize. I thought my camera was okay. There's actually more. Hold on. There you go. But now I gotta here. Now I gotta turn this off. Hold on. There it goes. Yeah, it's just I don't know what it is. I cannot bring myself to open it up. And like, it isn't like I view this thing as like as a collector. Oh, this thing's going to get like high value in the future. No, I don't think this guy is going to get that much in the way of money, worth increase. I'm not sure how you would want to call it. I just don't feel the need to open him up. That's what it is, which is sad because of the fact that I was excited when I finally got him. I was fucking excited. I just lost all interest. I fucking lost all interest. That's what I think it is. That's what I think it is.
Information or look going on to him. He's just like a basic burly robot. You know, and I like my big, heavy proportion robots, but this one just never hit for me. You know, and then you throw in the parts where, like, yeah, like he's got, little parts that don't want to stay attached. Like,
Oh
I'm
God, it has
struggling
that
to keep them
issue.
together during transformation. That one might just be mine, but it doesn't help that was my first impression of the toy. It's a cool idea. Like, it's a cool idea, but he just doesn't have enough work with for this entire design point. I can never really get anything truly satisfying out of him and the other Junkions, which is a shame because they're the only Isers, for lack of a better term for them, that actually had the idea of just keeping most of them in the same color scheme so the parts all fit together better and what you build looks good. Nothing I ever built with this guy looked good. It all just kind of looked crammed together, and that's unfortunate. Again, great idea. They really should have done better on it. Overall, just a very forgettable figure in the end.
Okay, so basically, it sounds like this was an idea that was good in concept, but in practice, it did not really iron out, I guess you could say. But yeah, one of these days, maybe in 10 years, I'll finally get him out of the box. But right now, I just don't feel any need to open this. Okay, we have made it from number 10. We are down to number 1, ladies and gentlemen. What is number 1? We are about to find out.
At number 1, we have a very misguided figure in Legacy, and like, of all the toys I mess with out of this line, I was more disappointed with this than any of them. and that would be Squeeze Play.
Okay, now I have this figure. I actually have not taken the figure out of the box yet. I have the unopened. This is the unopened. Well, it's unopened, but it's the Prime Universe Cliff Jumper. It's a versus pack. It's Cliff Jumper versus uh Tarantulas. Tarantulas right here. Squeeze Play right here, and Tarn. I haven't opened the box up yet. This box has actually been sitting on the shelf back there. Overall, the figure, from what I can see, it looks competent. I mean, like, I haven't taken it out of the box, so I don't know. The only downside that I have is that this figure is actually it's a repurposed Titans Return figure, and I fucking hated Titans Return figures. I'm just not a fan of them. But overall, it looks decent. You know, it looks decent. I'm shocked that he picked this figure out of this set. I thought he would have gone with either, like, say, Tarantulas or Tarn, you know, possibly. He went with Squeeze Play, which, from what I've heard from other people online, I thought that Squeeze Play was liked. Apparently, I may be wrong, though. Let's see what he has to say.
Going with the Mind Wipe mold as the retool was immediately a mistake. It forced a lot of extremely weird proportion choices. His legs are way too small and don't fit the original shape. His shoulders are sunken way too far into his body. His arms cannot pose at their original positions. The cowl part, you know, like that crustacean shell behind his head, cannot fit flush to the body. You can hinge it down so that it can kind of connect, but it leaves this massive gap between the head and shoulders that should not exist. You know, and then you get to the robot mode, and I realize, wow, they really didn't freshen up this toy. The joint tolerances on mine felt terrible. Like,
I think, honestly, they should have just made a whole new figure. Whenever they re-release a Titan, whenever they re-release any figure from the Combiner Wars trilogy, so you have Combiner Wars, Titans Return, Power of the Primes, to me, it's doomed to fail because of the fact you are dealing with figures that are, you know, between let's say 8 to 10 years of age. They don't have the same real articulation that modern figures does. Yeah, they tinkered with Squeeze Play, as you can see here in this shot, but I have Twin Twist. I think it's Twin Twist. It was part of the Wreck and Rule collection. It was literally just a repaint of Titans Return Twin Twist with nothing changed at all. With, like I said, with the exception of the coloring, no modern articulation was added at all. And because of that, I just don't like that. If you're gonna if you want to release Twin Twist, just make a whole new figure. Can you imagine how awesome Twin Twist would have been, or hell, even how awesome Squeeze Play would have been if they just released these characters as whole new figures with new modern articulation and all that good stuff, instead of taking a Titans Return figure and trying to slap on modern articulation where it just kind of makes the entire figure look even worse. You know, it looks like it's a Frankensteinish, you know.
just not pleasant at all. And don't get me wrong, I'm glad that they paid some of the lesser known headmasters a little bit of love here, but it does feel just like, it just feels like a half-hearted attempt, you know? Like I didn't enjoy this toy the way I was really hoping.
I wouldn't say that it was half-hearted. I think it's just that Hasbro did not have the real estate to really do what they envisioned. So basically, they did what they could, and they just kind of pushed it out instead of being like, you know what, the consumers, they deserve a lot more. Let's just give them a whole new figure, you know.
To. I was excited to get the more obscure headmaster out there, you know, and I was kind of excited they were going to do something a little bit out of the norm and get to more obscure things. But the execution on this is absolutely terrible. Like, you know, it doesn't matter how you try to upsell it. The beast mode is just a pale imitation of like how his original one looked. and the robot is kind of a loose jointed mess. Overall, just really, really disappointing. And I know some Squeeze Play fans out there. I can't imagine you were satisfied with what you ultimately got. Waited, 30 plus years to get that new toy, and this is it? Really? It feels like a space filler. It feels like it was there to check a box. And that's unfortunate because this is a box that they're likely never going to go back and recheck. It is what it is. At best, you can hope that someone out there makes a really big deal out of Squeeze Play in a comic book someday, and we might have a run at a better figure. But for now, out of everything in the Legacy trilogy, this is the toy I had the least amount of fun with. And yeah, I really, really don't like this figure. And that is going to do it.
Okay, so that is it, ladies and gentlemen. That was the top 10 worst legacy figures from TJOmega. Here I'll be right back with my final thoughts. Okay, so that is basically it. I just wanted to give you my thoughts about what I heard, in these entries. Like I said in the very beginning, these top 10 lists, in my opinion, are basically that it's their opinion. Sometimes people try to push off as like, this is the best, and actually no, dude, it's just your opinion. I like Transformer figures that a lot of people hate, but it's ultimately opinions. Some of what he showed, I was actually kind of shocked that it made a list, but that's just me. And I will be honest, like I said, I think some of these things were kind of biased, but ultimately it's his choice. It's his list, I'm just kind of shocked, like I said, like Scourge. Really, Scourge made that list when there were a whole bunch of other figures, that could have made it, like all the fucking Junkions. The Legacy Junkions. Each and every one of them were shit, but that's just my opinion, But I'm going to go and get this ready to upload, and I will see you next time. As always, if you like what you watch, YouTube is over here, Facebook is over here, and I'll see you next time, okay? My name is Jeff, aka GCurse. Wish you all a great day. Stay safe, everybody.